Okay, share ko lang guys. Someone asked, is there any way on how we can correlate the different approaches of rhetoric from verbal to visual studies? Let me explain something. In the previous videos, we discussed how visual rhetoric evolved from its historical accounts onto its arguments and discussion from numerous rhetoricians and experts. And as it continuously evolves and is recognized now, its pervasiveness in our society is also being seen. Yun lang muna. Bye!
Let me help you explain something. This is the decision tree for rhetorical figures of similarity derived from Durand from 1987. This is a matrix of 30 distinct rhetorical figures by determining 4 processes and 5 types of relationships between the pieces in each figure. This is an example of how rhetoric discovers patterns and principles within the collection of formal devices available to advertising. Another framework proposed is a visualization methods compiled and translated from Gade. Gade also builds a library of relations holding between the visual and verbal contributions to documents, particularly advertisements, front pages, and similar one-page pieces of visual communication that draws directly on traditional rhetorical categories. These categories then provide verbal-visual visualization methods available for making expression more effective. Each of his main categories of visualization is defined to have collections of sub-methods that identify the nature of the relationship more closely. Gade considered these visual methods as particular means for achieving or strengthening 5 basic visual communicative functions. We have comprehensibility, acceptance, attractiveness, control of interpretation, and dramaticality. Clearly, this scheme is only to be used in combination of intelligent choice on the part of a designer. But Gade's explicit aim is to set out a range of possibilities that designers can consider in order to help them explore systematically a larger space of possible design solutions. Let us now expand the categories while still recognizing them. Marsh and White draw on broad rhetorical principles in order to explicitly address text-image relations in a variety of forms of information presentation, including both traditional printed and new media. The basis of their classification is a combination of proposals from publications of text-image relations. This is a taxonomy of relations between text and image proposed by Marsh and White. We worked as a systemic classification network containing no fewer than 46 distinct relations that may possibly hold between image and text. Marsh and White consequently evaluate their framework by applying the classification scheme to a random sample of websites. Let me give you an example. If an image is used on 2 web pages, it can ultimately change its meaning depending on the text and setting where the image were placed. For example, this image from my left was used as a Halloween ad of Pepsi from 2013, mocking its biggest competitor, which is Coca-Cola. The same image from my right was used as Coke's response with a different text, completely changing the ad's meaning. Now, let's dig deeper to some selected scope notes from Marsh and White. Scope notes are intended to give questions that an analyst can raise in order to identify the class of text-image relationship being examined and delimited from other possible relations. Marsh and White's general method of analysis takes the text and image combinations, including both the main body of the text and the image it occurs with, as well as textual elements within the image, and considers for each pair of elements identified what relations from the classification can be motivated on the basis of the scope notes. Let me give you an example again. This image lies under the scope note of Marsh and White Inspire. The text invincible and the person has no relation whatsoever if seen separately, but it was combined perfectly and sent the message how it was intended to be.
Teka lang, Dr. Zella, someone asked, how can we characterize rhetorical figures on the basis of their form? Let me explain something. As we have seen, most of the approaches discussed so far have concerned themselves with abstract statements of communicative functions, which can raise difficult issues such as interpretation. In this table, Group Mu categorizes nonverbal semiotic system into two layers of classification. The first one is the plastic level of fundamental shapes, colors, compositions, and textures. The second one is an iconic level, where elements emerge that may subsequently be interpreted. Technically speaking, certain forms of expression are deemed to be directly associated with interpretations and thus non-rhetorical, while others deviate from this degree zero, or the system of creating meaning out of nothing, and express rhetorical figures. The perfect example for this one is this image from this advertisement of Coca-Cola that falls under the classification of an iconic level. We also have two dimensions of potential deviation. First one is the first dimension. It refers to how visuals, as opposed to verbal language, allow for simultaneous expressions, meaning that information of all sorts may be communicated all at once rather than sequentially as in speech or writing. These components are viewed as either combined, or what we call conjoined, or separated, or what we call disjoint. The second one is the second dimension, determined by whether one of the elements being brought into a rhetorical interaction is either present or absent, or partially present. And how do we find those elements between text and image relations are meant to hold?
Well, this relates to the general problem of identifying the units of analysis. To avoid choosing out elements that we are biased about and ignoring the rest, it is crucial to approach this problem deliberately.
That's right. As layout is a crucial component of visual and it plays a huge impact on various content, it necessitates that we be considerably more explicit about it, as our focus shifts from abstract ideas for what may happen between text and visuals to practical analysis. Challenges of unit identification become increasingly crucial.
Hold up! Can you make this lesson a little less technical? Dr. Sel and Josh, remember that we should consider our target audience when making contents, ha? TikTok videos should be easy peasy. Kaya naman, eto na, i-flex ko! Did you know that Shriver proposed a concept called rhetorical clusters that take layout into consideration? It is a standardized combination of visual and textual material displayed in a recognizable visual form. Shriver said that we can think of a document as a field of interacting rhetorical clusters. Take this logic. Said clusters will be giving us a group of converging meanings, thus enabling the readers or the audience to form a coherent and consistent idea of the content. With this idea, Shriver suggests that designers must be practicing rhetoricians, and these practicing rhetoricians must use all their available resources to organize the content on the page in a way that the users or the readers may establish connections on the material and on the designer's intention. So, here's an example of rhetorical clusters by Shriver. Further, Shriver elaborates another categorization for possible text-image interactions from her account. 5 essential relationships are provided by this suggestion, which integrates prior strategies with some new elements. So we have redundant and complementary, supplementary and juxtapositional, last but not the least, stage setting.
Very well said! Always keep in mind that these rhetorical clusters can serve as your mini guide in creating appealing layouts in your visual rhetoric joining. Are you still with us? I hope you learned something. Ingat!
Oh, so that was the progress of visual rhetoric in terms of its approaches and scopes. I'm so impressed by its expansion in our modern day today. But I'm still confused on how visual communicate rhetorically.